Hi, everybody.
Hi.
How are you all doing?
Good.
Okay.
Ooh, I see I have a group of ladies.
Thank
I like
you.
this. It's just women.
Yes.
Women working on fathers' issues. I love this. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Ribwani, and I work at Heartlines as a senior researcher. I just wanted to give you a bit of information in terms of what we'll be doing here. So I will try and type out the questions just in case you have forgotten them. But just as a refresher, let me find those questions. The questions are, what does your organization do? Who are your beneficiaries and why? What have the lessons and gaps been on your journey? In what ways do you want to connect, collaborate, and grow with the other organizations in 2021? Does everyone have the questions?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Okay.
So what I'd like to say is that everybody has 12 minutes to present. So you will have 8 minutes to just give us, the overall gist of your organization and answer the questions. And then we will open it to the floor for 4 minutes just for Q&A. Is everybody okay with that?
Mm.
Awesome. And as Oli said, we would need to appoint one person just to feed back to the bigger group, just so that we can let them know what we discussed and just touch base after the meeting. Would anyone like to go first? Don't make me pick on you. I'll be the teacher who picks on people in class.
Rwani, let me go first.
No problem.
Good morning, gorgeous ladies. My name is Kangisa Motema. I'm heading up the National Family Foundation. We are a basic grassroots organization. We've been in existence since 2016. And we tackle issues that are on ground that affect families, from poverty issues to psychosocial issues, health issues, medical issues. And we do so through, we have a walk-in center in a community called Olivenhout Bosch, which is out in Midrand, between Midrand and Centurion. We also have a TV program called, it's new, it's called Family Matters, that airs on Soweto TV. And we also basically, and we're a very lean structure. We have about 5 full-time employees, and we rely mainly on collaboration. One of our major projects that we're doing currently is positive parenting. We work with organizations such as your Institute of Security Studies. We work with your Proof Africas, which is similar to Heartlines, but more on the communication part. Another of our exciting programs is we have a collaboration with a children's book writing and publishing company called Bala Books, and we give children an opportunity to basically tell stories about their lives. And you'll be quite surprised to see some of the books and the stories that have come up, especially pertaining to fathers not being there. It's been quite a success, and I look forward to connecting with a lot of the organizations that are represented here to see how we can collaborate to give children a voice, to raise more awareness through the TV program that we have, and also other platforms in our walk-in center. Look, we need everything from brochures to information pamphlets, sheets about play parenting, all those things that especially affect children and families. We also work a lot with the religious sector in terms of developing communication strategies of how they handle issues such as communicating autoimmune diseases such as your COVIDs, and to handle stuff like the vaccines that are coming out. So we're working with your United Nations in terms of rolling out some of those programs and workshops with the religious sector. The second question, who are beneficiaries? I think I've answered that. Families, people who live together under one roof, as defined by our country. And what are the lessons? What are the lessons and the gaps that have been? It's obviously limited funding and also limited capacity in terms of having a bigger reach. I mean, we're talking here a population of 58, 60 million people. So we need all the collaboration, especially also making inroads with government. That's been quite an issue for us, and also trying to see how we can help, with the huge inequalities that exist in our society. So that's been a major gap for us. What ways would I like to collaborate? We need all the evidence-based information that's available. Because when we go out and run a campaign, or we host a show on a program called Family Matters, we would like our hosts to actually communicate information that's evidence-based. So we need information. We need information. We need money. Everybody needs money. But more important, we need more opportunities to collaborate and also play our part. So that is what I think. And I see ways we can collaborate. And also on some of the NGOs I've seen here, like the Character Company, and see how we can collaborate basically, and also on the book writing program for children. I think there's a lot of scope there and something exciting. It's new in the market, and we can really go all out and explore that. Sis Luvolo, please help me pronounce your name. Luvwani.
Livwani.
Livwani. Yeah, Livwani. I beg your pardon, darling.
No problem.
Livwani, yes, I hope I haven't exceeded my time.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
So I'd just like to ask anyone if we'd like to ask Khanyisa any questions about the organization or what she has said. Anybody?
Are you only based in South Africa, or are you a regional or international brand?
Personally, I'm a Pan-Africanist, but I believe that you look at South Africa. South Africa is a melting pot as it is. You cannot. It's very regional in its nature. So we have to make things work here at home, and then move on to across the borders. But we welcome any collaborations. We're available for any collaborations. But in terms of footprint and setting up, we would like to engage wherever possible. So we are open. I'm Zimbabwean, I just don't have a passport. So, yeah.
Khanyisa, I'd like to, can you just elaborate a little bit more about the children's books that you're publishing?
Okay, what we do is that we've collaborated with a company called Bala Books. You can look them up. They run children book writing and publishing programs. So what they do is they run modules, about 12 or 10 modules, that they take children through how to build up a storyline, how to develop a character, how to put together a book. And I mean, so far they've worked, I think they've produced about 4,000 authors, but published, I think about 1,000 published authors. And they're currently running an Africa book writing program competition. Children, yes, will be given an opportunity to submit their stories, and the best stories will be published.
Wow. And it's all by children. From what age?
School-going age, from the age of 7 till matric, basically. My own daughter has written a book on childhood obesity and bullying. It's called Bizarka. Yeah.
Excellent. Wow.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, it's two friends who struggle with their weight because they're scared of the big bad gym. And at gym, all the equipment comes alive at night and talks about everyone who's coming to the gym. So it's a very exciting space. And I mean, she's experienced bullying at a school because she's a bit, fresh, I call it. She's a fresh child. And so she's articulated that. And that's also it helped. I mean, we've worked with children that are out in, your more rural areas. And it's phenomenal, the stories that come by, how children even make up stories about their dads coming back and, you know, how it's going to be. And, you know, they just escape into a world that's beyond their own. So, yeah, it's quite, and I'd love to really share and engage further post this networking session on that program.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Erne, would you like to go next?
I knew you would pick on me.
I am the teacher and the god here. So I can...
It's good. I think you visited us once, Libwani.
Yes, I did. I did visit.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So glad to meet you again.
Wonderful to see you too.
Yes. Okay, so I work for an organization called SAVF, which was established in 1904. So this is a well-established welfare organization. We work in 5 provinces. I think much of my work go a bit further, but we work basically in 5 provinces in Limpopo, Northwest, Gauteng, Mpumalanga, and KZN. So the organization in the wider organization is involved in social work offices, old age homes, ECD centers, shelters. We've got a few children's homes. So it's in that way a very much a social work organization in many ways. I'm specifically in the post of coordinator of SAVF FOMNET, and FOMNET stands for Family Network. So it's all kind of things about family life, more specifically about parenting. We started out with the Botswadi program, training program. So I train people I train group leaders or facilitators, and they go and do group work in the communities or wherever they work or live. So we have Botswadi, and then in 2012 I became involved in fatherhood work, and we developed a program, Ubaba Unati, Daddy with Us. So we train in that as well. And I think one of the big things you might know with father absence is teenage pregnancies is often linked to father absence. So we've got a program, Rebuilding Dreams, about teenage pregnancies. It's aimed at the teenage, not only the teenage mother, because we want the teenage father also involved, or the father of the baby. And then more recently, we developed active parenting of teenagers, which is a program for parents of teenagers. And because of, when all these things are real life issues that many people struggle with. And we saw that some of our group leaders come and then they faced with their own history and their own struggles and issues. So we've got a program specifically for our group leaders that we call Impactful Leadership, to help them and guide them and help them face also the things they carry with them and deal with it and leave it behind, or make it part of their, I think most of us have some experience of something bad in our childhood, which we could convert into something where we can serve others and help others. So that's the whole trend of this program that we do. So I became involved in fatherhood work in 2012, and then it developed into a network. So currently I'm coordinating a network with people doing actually what we want to do with Fathers Matter as well, work with fatherhood programs. I think at this stage my capacity is decreasing. I'm getting older. I'm going on pension soon, so I really welcome the idea of another network from an organization like Heartlines, who has credibility and so on. So the network really is sharing information. When somebody is having a training course or something like that, we share that information. Or when somebody has a nice video, we share it on a WhatsApp group or on email. But there's not really anything else happening there. What really came with the whole work of fatherhood, I think we really saw there are different aspects of which speak to father involvement, which hinders father involvement as well. on the one hand, people who grew up without fathers need fatherhood skills. So that's a very real thing that we need in our programs. There's a lot of people who keep the fathers away, and often it lies with the families, where they keep the father away, that gatekeeping, or the, as we would say in the social work terms, now I forget it. What do we call it? The alienation of parents. So, and often the father is the one who's being alienated. Unfortunately, there are also cultural practices adding to that. So we involve some mediators as well, and people doing co-parenting programs in our network, because it also speaks to the whole thing. One of the things that's really close to my heart is the whole idea when a child grew up without a father, and that's both girls and boys, when they become adults, they both actually need mentors to guide them through the whole process of taking up their role as a parent and allowing the father to be involved, or being the father who is involved, and overcoming all the hiccups that they have. So a mentor can play a long-standing role, and I do believe that is one of the things that that in the whole, it's one thing to do awareness programs, but it's quite something different to be involved in a weekly connection with somebody who needs that information, who needs that what do you call it, the strengthening to get over the gap and the pain, and to take up their role in a proper way. So we've got a mentorship network as well that we call SUMNET, South African Mentorship Network. And I'm also the coordinator of that, and Jaco from Character Company is very active there. So we really try to share our trainings and to share a lot of things with each other. We're really moving with SUMNET as well. I think that's more active than our Fathers Network currently. So that's a big mouthful, but that's basically what I'm involved in. Any questions?
Sure. Hi, Anna. I'm particularly interested in the restorative work that you do whenever there's an alienation, for whatever reason. You know, there's various reasons why, especially fathers, are alienated from their parents. Some is to protect the children, and etc. So I'd like to know more about what is your approach, and which communities do you guys basically, or how do you guys do that work, and how available are you? Because there's a number of cases actually that we have within the community of Oliver North Bosch, where obviously, because we are limited.
Just repeat that, the community of
Oliver North Bosch. It's just after Kailami.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
You know,
so
when it comes to parental alienation, our social workers know quite a bit, but they're not, okay, let me not go there. What I often do is I refer it to a mediator. And I'm in contact with mediators here in Gauteng, but then also who does training. And when they do training, the people who are being trained need to do pro bono work. So we often need people, you know, we often have people who don't have money to pay for mediation. So they have to do pro bono work when they're studying, and after that they have to do at least 3 pro bono cases per year to stay accredited. So I'm also linked with somebody in Cape Town, but they do training nationally, and they've got a long list of mediators. There's always somebody who is available. So that's what I would. I'm really the coordinator. I'm not the person working directly in this field, but bringing people together.
Okay.
Wonderful. Does anyone want to ask any questions?
Yeah, I could provide you with details if you need.
No, excellent. Yeah, I hope I'll get your details from someone.
Livoani, maybe we should just ask that our details will be sent out to everybody.
Yes. So I'll just make sure that when the email is sent out, all the information from all the other organizations are also included, so that you are able to communicate with each other much easily. Right, I will pick on someone again. Cindy, so would you mind just taking the floor?
Hi everyone. I actually work with Kanyisa.
Oh, you
we're
do?
From the same organization,
Okay.
NASA. Yes, we're from the same organization.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, unfortunately, Mpo, you are next.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I must confess, I had no idea of what to do, what to prepare coming for the meeting, whether I should do a PowerPoint or what. So I'll just quickly talk through my small PowerPoint that I did. I hope I'll be within the minutes that I was allocated. So my name is Mphohle Mapena Lunga, and I work for Sonke Gender Justice. But for this session, I am going to speak more about the Men Care campaign, where I am the global co-coordinator. So Men Care is a global fatherhood campaign that's active in more than 50 countries. I guess the reason why I was asking the footprint, whether it's South African or is it regional, that's where my interest is, because most of our work is quite regional within Africa and throughout the world again. So Men Care is coordinated by Promundo and Sonke Gender Justice. Hence, I'm wearing somehow two hats as Sonke, but going to be speaking about the Men Care campaign. I'm still fairly new in this role, so please bear with me if maybe I may not really be able to respond to some of the questions that you may have, but I'll try my level best to respond. So Men Care was launched in 2011, so we're actually celebrating our 10th year anniversary at the end of the year, that's November. And we have more than 45 countries around the world that have made this campaign their own. So the mission is really to promote men's involvement as equitable, non-violent fathers and caregivers. And we also aim for men to be allies in supporting women's social and economic equality. And then the other thing is, I think what Olifile mentioned earlier on, that Heartlines is also funded by Oak Foundation. We too, as Men Care, get some generous funding from funders like CEDA Global and Oak Foundation, as well as other funders. So the footprint of Men Care is really in Europe and Central Asia. It's on 5 continents actually, which is Europe and Central Asia, the Middle East and North Africa, the Americas, Asia Pacific, and then where my interest is actually, and maybe why I'm also here today, is the sub-Saharan countries that are part of the campaign. So maybe something also to note, Men Care is not an organization, it is a campaign that is being promoted by Sonke and Promundo. So what does this campaign do? We have 3 main areas where we're focusing on, which is programming, advocacy, as well as media campaigns. I'll try and be very brief in describing what we do in those 3 areas. But maybe also to mention that in sub-Saharan Africa, we have about 12 countries that are active in Men Care. It's namely Botswana, Ghana, Ethiopia, Ghana, Namibia, South Africa is also a partner. I think we have 2 organizations. It's Mosaic and I've forgotten the second one. Please bear with me. And I think Zimbabwe, Togo. Yeah, I'll also share the Men Care link. That's where there's more information in case I've missed some of the countries that are part of Men Care. So when we look at programming, Men Care's programs engage men and women. So I think I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone, also trying to respond to the beneficiaries. So So we engage men and women around the world to become active parents who are more equitable partners and agents of positive change in the communities. So we see that, working with fathers and couples directly encourages men and women to challenge the traditional gender roles by providing opportunities to learn, especially on practical parenting skills. So on the programming area also, we aim to achieve a change at an institutional level, if I may say, because the other target beneficiary is healthcare providers. We do have a program now in the Free State, which is Men Care 50-50, where we are also targeting on working with healthcare providers in the Free State to roll out the parenting sessions in that province. So this Men Care 50-50 that I'm talking about is an adaptation of a Men Care program that was initiated some years back, which was called Program P. So Program P provides concrete strategies on activities. It's actually a manual that engages men in active fatherhood campaigns, especially around pregnancy and the early child development years. So I can just say that in a nutshell, that's the programming aspect. And then we also have the advocacy element, which is promoting paid parental leave to raise awareness of harmful effects of, for example, corporal punishment. Sonke was quite vocal in the ending corporal punishment. I'm not sure whether many of you are aware of that. It was some years back. Please forgive me. It's still early in the morning, but this is some of the advocacy work that we do aim for, and we also target to change policies of inequality. We also, MenCare provides call to action platforms. In 2019, we also developed a MenCare 50-50 call to action where we were calling on, fathers to take up at least 50% of care work in the house. Yeah, it's a long road to achieving it, but we just hope that, in the coming years, we do hopefully achieve it. So I think some of the successful advocacy initiatives we've had include what I mentioned, the ending of corporal punishment. There's also the MenCare Parental Leave platform. And then another thing which we are also doing here in South Africa is the State of the World's Fathers. So we've managed to develop about 3 State of the World Fathers reports. So these provide key global data on fatherhood and define a global advocacy agenda for involving men and boys to be part of the solution to achieve gender equality. So we are in the process of developing a 3rd State of the World Fathers report, which we hope will be launched this June. But unlike the previous years where it's been quite a global focus, last year with COVID and all, we've had to really scale down and somehow try to focus on the narrative of this 3rd one, to focus on fatherhood and some recommendations, with COVID around on how does care really look, how do fatherhood strategies really look in the light of COVID. And then the MenCare 50, we are hoping that we achieve this 50-50 by 2030. So we still have about 9 or so years to see whether, we can really achieve that. And then lastly, there's the How I Care Global campaign. We launched it last year in the midst of COVID-19. I think many of you can attest that when the lockdown happened, everyone was somehow supposed to be at home, including mothers and fathers. But then we somehow saw some level of fathers being involved in care work because they were somehow forced to be inside the homes. So it was just a campaign that was trying to bring out the goodness of fathers doing care work amid COVID and being in the house. So the last key work that we focus on is men care is the media. We have several media campaigns. I'll also try and share a link where you can see a video that we did as men care here in South Africa on just portraying the goodness of fatherhood. It's a journey where we track a young man who has a young wife and they're expecting a baby, but the man had no idea of what to do. So we followed him, we took him through our program here in South Africa, the Men Care program under Sonke. And through that journey, he was there for his wife. Even when the baby was born, he was there. And he just shares the beauty of having that opportunity of being there to witness such a journey. And that if it wasn't for, having such positive fatherhood engagements when the wife was pregnant, he would have really missed quite a lot towards his child. Yeah, and lessons learned. I think for Men Care, like I mentioned, it's a campaign. So unfortunately, Khanyisa, funding-wise, it's something that we're not really able to offer, which although I feel that at some point, we really need to see how we, seek funding to, assist other small organizations that work on fatherhood and all. And I think let me move on. I think some of the lessons learned, I think, well, for those who interact with Sonke and Men Care, we've been criticized as somehow a men's movement because I think there hasn't been quite clear understanding of why we, work with men and boys, which is not the case because we do work with everyone. So we do have that feminist approach in our programs. I think we still need to get the message out there that we are in this struggle together, even though our focus is by engaging fathers, engaging men and boys largely, but also not excluding women and girls and the LGBT community. So on what ways do we want to grow? Like I mentioned, my interest is really in growing Men Care in Africa. My colleague from Promundo, she's based in the US, so they've quite a vibrant and stronger movement in that part of the world. But when it comes to Africa, I think we're still lacking a bit of, vibrancy and a footprint throughout Africa. So one of the things that I'm looking forward to is perhaps seeing how do we collaborate with colleagues who are here in the call to make this campaign quite vibrant, not only in South Africa, but also see how we connect South Africa with other African countries who are doing similar work on fatherhood. And I think I'm done. I hope I didn't chow my time that I was allocated.
Well, we are lucky we have 1 minute for questions.
Okay. I think I'm anticipating the report on the state of fathers, the world report that you guys are putting together, because if you look at South Africa, Stats SA, there's a recent report that was released that 70% of fathers are absent. I'd really love to know whether where that research and how it was done, and also just to see what you guys are going to come up with, and to really understand, because it's not a good picture, especially for a country. It's not a good picture, but let's understand what actually is going on ground. And it's quite exciting for us, to come together and see how we can obviously bridge the gap Yes, we know the history of our nation, migrant laws and all of that were huge contributors, but now those are not a factor anymore. There's other things that are at play. So it's to see how can we get involved, how can we create an exciting campaign, as you said. Yeah, so I'm anticipating that report. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, you actually reminding me. I forgot this part. I guess I focused on the world report, but we also do have a State of South Africa Fathers Report. This one, we've had one, so we're working on the second one, which also we hope to launch it in June this year. So currently, my colleagues Vessel and the human science something, sorry, please pardon me. They're based in KZN. Yes, thank you, Anna.
I think it's Takwanda, isn't it?
Tawanda, yes. So Vessel and Tawanda are leading the State of South Africa Fathers work. So they are quite busy at the moment collecting data, and we hope that, I think there's a first draft, if I'm not mistaken, which still needs to be reviewed, because we're hoping that the second State of South Africa Fathers report will be done will be launched in June. And then the other thing, I appreciate the relationship that we have with Heartlines, because with the state of, we are also going to be using some of the data that Heartlines did for, hey, I've forgotten what Heartlines did with Uganda, because I remember we did have a meeting in Johannesburg with the colleagues from Uganda.
Oh, it was research.
Yes, that research. Yeah. So I'm glad that for the State of Uganda Fathers Report, which we're also hoping to launch sometime in May or June, is going to be having some such data. So I think this virtual networking has been quite beneficial, especially on our side, just to see how then do we work together. Perhaps in the next round of the State of the World Report or State of South Africa Fathers Report, at least now I know that you guys do exist, and we may actually reach out to you, or maybe even to review the state of the reports before they're even launched, just to get your input. So I just see that opportunity also from our side.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any last words to share?
Yeah, I'd like to just say, I heard what you said about the critique, and I had that critique myself in my organization, which was traditionally a women's organization, that people after a year being busy with father work, people would ask me, so when does it stop? And the thing is, the work with fathers has been neglected for a long period. It was overdue when we started working. And I hear what I heard you saying several times, and I think this is a very good way to approach it, is to show and focus on the goodness of fathers. Yeah. Because when you praise something, you see more of it. Yes. When you giving critique, you see less of it. So this is one approach that I think every one of us should take, is a focus on what is positive about fathers being involved in the lives of their children, and how to overcome the obstacles by giving fatherhood skills and by opening those gates which are closed.
Absolutely.
True, and I joined Sonke in 2011. When Sonke really had that strong focus of only working with men and boys. You'd often go into meetings as a young woman, speaking on behalf of Sonke, and you'd get those nasty comments from people to say, "You're just a flower. I mean, Sonke is for men, so." They just pick you to be in this position so that, they try to show that they are gender equitable. So I just love how over the years, really, I mean, organizations like yourself and Sonke have really tried to bring out that no, it's not about us saying we are promoting men's rights. We do not promote men's rights at all, but we just want to bring out the goodness of fatherhood. We had one campaign as Sonke Brothers for Life that we did with CCI. I think that's the campaign that really tried to break the barriers to show that we are looking at the benefits of you being a father. For example, you need to go and get tested because that's a benefit to you. You get to live longer, to be with your family longer. So I totally agree with you that, you know, looking at fatherhood in a what's in it for you, like what are the benefits for you, is quite beneficial, honestly. Yeah. And I was speaking to Vessel before, was it 2 days back, where he was also reminding me that please don't forget to mention that we do hold strong feminist values, because I was not so sure whether, you know, someone in the room may, you know, have that feeling that, you know, Sonke or the organizations that work on fatherhood are advocating for men's rights. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, we would have to appoint someone to report back to the bigger team. And since everyone has had an opportunity to speak, I will pick on Cindy So. And we can hear you just really represent this team moving forward. But just before we go back to the bigger group, I just want to say thank you so much to all of you for putting in the effort, the hours, the work it takes to really bring to light this issue of fatherhood. I think having been part of Heartlines and being really grounded in the research and going out and hearing people's stories, and seeing how people feel so broken because they grew up without fathers, or feeling like, you know, I remember there was a group of young men who just felt like they have no sense of direction in life because they grew up without fathers. And all these contributing factors that you were talking about, Erna, about, you know, cultural factors, really just the relationships that happen between mothers and fathers and how they choose or not choose to co-parent, and how detrimental all of this is. And I think in the bigger scheme of things, it's always understanding that the person who bears the brunt for all these other people's decisions, cultural factors and everything else, is the child. That's the person who suffers the most. And I think this is really, really work that should be highlighted. This is work that should be everywhere so that people can understand that children need for everyone to really just be as adult as they possibly can, so that they can have a brighter future, so that they can feel a sense of, you know, validation and just know that there's nothing wrong with them. Because I think there's just, you know, kids who just literally say, all I wanted from this man was just for him to take me to the park. I don't care if he gives me pocket money, or I don't care if, you know, he, you know, I don't know, like if he's not really in good terms with my mother. I just want this man to be in my life and to show me love and to, so I mean, yeah, I think we're doing really amazing work all together. And I think that's why it's very important to collaborate and to grow together, because it will make a very big difference to the lives of children, mothers, fathers. Everybody needs to hear this message. And I think it's very important.